Hey guys, kinggath here with another patch for Sim Settlements. This is patch 3.0.3, which I'm calling Community Extermination. Actually, that sounds terrible. Let's call it Community Exterminators. I'm not exterminating any of you guys. You guys are the ones doing the bug extermination. All of the reports that you guys have been giving me and all of the effort you've been putting in to help replicate issues that I haven't been able to replicate or that the closed beta test hasn't found has been immeasurably helpful in solving a lot of these issues. The save files you guys have been sending me, the willingness to go through and try some things for me, it is a huge help, and most of these bug fixes couldn't have been done without the community help. So thank you. And if you check out the patch notes, you'll see how busy we've been in the last few days with bug fixes. Lots and lots of them in this patch. So this is going to be a long patch notes video because not only am I going to show you a few holotape options and quality of life things that have been improved with this patch, but I'm also going to have a discussion about some major engine level issues that some of you guys have been experiencing probably since Fallout 4 came out that are you're just noticing a lot more now because of how much Sim Settlements is interacting with your game. So let's start out with the less scary stuff, which is the quality of life improvements and holotape options. So the first thing you'll see in front of me is that the city planner's desk has been reversed. And this is because the terminal animation, the one that kind of moves your character as if they're sitting down, so this little bobber there, that always happens on the left, which means that when your terminal is on the left, like it was prior to this patch, if you had your desk crammed up in a corner like this, you couldn't actually ever access the terminal. My original plan was to just switch the animation to the right, but that's going to require an animator and a lot more effort than just reversing the pieces. So if you come in and you find that, for example, your safe is floating off to the right and there's things hovering in the air or not interactable, just pick up your city planner's desk in workshop mode and cancel out the movement, and it will refresh all of the positions. And if I can get into workshop mode here, I can show you guys. So if you pick this up and then set it down, it will recreate everything in its new correct positions. So that is the first fix. Another fix, and I'll show you this just because I happen to be in Castle, if I can navigate my way around here. But one of the things we did by mistake in our city build was we walled off some pretty important pieces, which normally wouldn't be a problem. Okay, I've already scrapped them in a test. We had walled off the entrance and exit to the underbelly of the castle. Not sure why we did that, but those things are now scrappable. So if you accidentally used the city build before you finished the old guns quest, you can now scrap those boards so you can get down there and work on that quest. All right, and now let's head into the holotape, and I'm going to show you guys a couple of new options. So one of the things that I didn't realize people on PC were experiencing until I saw MXR's video review of Rise of the Commonwealth is that some of you, when you're in cinematic mode, when you're flying around your city during a city build, would have the camera stuttering obnoxiously up and down, and that was something I didn't even realize was possible on PC. So the way the camera works is that it moves you and points itself toward kind of the action. Well, that pointing feature is very intense on your system, and so on Xbox I have that disabled completely. It doesn't even function on Xbox because of how bad the stuttering was, but I'm finding out now that PC players can experience that too. So if you're in that situation, you can go into city building and change your cinematic mode camera to manual, which will let you control the direction it points in, which will eliminate that stuttering. That stuttering is basically your game being incapable of keeping up with the amount of updates required to point the camera for you. So this is a solution. And some people might actually like this just so that they can have something to do during the cinematic mode. Personally, I like to just watch, but if you're the type that would prefer to kind of move your camera around and watch what's happening while you're flying around, that is an option for you. And I actually needed to stay in that menu. So if you guys, for some of you, this explanation is going to make no sense. But if you're a power user, you're way into messing with this holotape and some settlements and taking detailed control, this explanation and this setting are for you. So there's a new involvement setting called defaults, which I have on right here. And what that does is makes it so that whenever you start a new city build, it will just use whatever your global settings are. So it won't override any of your locals. It will just use all of your global settings. So if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. You'll probably want to keep involvement on something like medium. But if you're a power user of Sim Settlements and you like all the little controls, this is probably for you. And then the last thing we'll talk about in here is something that maybe some of you probably haven't even experienced yet, because I've never talked about it in a video, and that's if you bring up your town meeting gavel, which if you don't have one of these, you can create it at the city planner's desk. If you activate the desk itself, it brings you into a crafting menu. But this town meeting gavel started out as a way for you to summon all of your settlers to you so that you could kind of give them jobs and homes and reassign them. Well, I've decided to make use of it as a way to do more settlement-wide things so that you can kind of get your settlers in order doing things for you. So the first thing that was added with the 3.0 patch, which was broken in the 3.02 patch and is now fixed once again, and that's why I'm bringing it up, is the scrap this settlement option. And I want to talk to you about it because I want to show you what it does. So there are a few ways to scrap your settlement in the game. If you're on PC, you have the scrap all console command. And the scrap all console command is awesome because it's instantaneous, but it's very dangerous. It can scrap quest items. It can, if you have something like scrap everything installed, it can take out chunks of the actual world space. So it's a very dangerous command. Then the sim settlements, transfer settlements, amazing follower tweaks, a lot of them have scrap options as well. And those all work in different ways. Some of them are slower, some of them are faster. This method is something I've come up with that I think is somewhere in between the scrap all option and the options that a lot of mods offer. And it's kind of what I would call a safe scrap method. So what this does is it goes through and scraps anything you've built. It scraps anything that settlers built in the city option. It will scrap all plots and all the items on the plots. And it will also scrap anything that was scrappable in the vanilla game that you could do in workshop mode. So the distinction of that is important because it won't just scrap everything that's scrappable, because that could end up scrapping like quest markers or objects that are made scrappable by a mod like Scrap Everything. So what we did is we went through, and I say we, but really I should thank our wonderful team of testers, which are Wood Fuzzy, Crazy Horse, Windy Gusset, Kermit. I think we're the four who took care of this particular project. Those guys are awesome, and they went through and basically did a procedure for me where they went through and scrapped every single item manually so that I could record what was being scrapped, so that we knew that everything that this system would scrap was safe to scrap. So it was a very long process, but it results in this nice system you can use that's very safe. It's not quite as fast as something like Scrap All, because I didn't want it to overwhelm your systems, but it's much, much faster than something like the local self-destruct. And you'll see the items, you can watch them disappearing. This is done relatively quickly and very, very safely. So that's a nice option you have if you want to reset your settlement. If you're using the city builds, it does reset them to level 0, so that if you wanted to start over, you could. Maybe you wanted for whatever reason, and it may become relevant in the future. It might be that we add more things that change some of the city designs, and you want to try them from the beginning. But you'll see that it only took about 7 or 8 seconds to scrap all of the castle here. If you have a more complex build, it can take probably upwards of a minute to do, but it's still much, much faster than something like local self-destruct. So that is a useful option you guys have. All right, so now we're inside of a save that someone sent me, and I'm going to just kind of wander around until I can trigger this little issue. If you run into what I'm about to show you, it could be that you have a bug I discovered recently in the game. And it will manifest itself in a couple of ways. One is right there, that the kind of hiccup where the game kind of locks in place for a second and then kind of keeps going again. Another manifestation is incredibly long load times. And then a third one would be extreme file bloating. If you find your save file is jumping up into the 100+ megabyte range, you probably have this issue. Now on Xbox, it's really tough to identify if you have it, because those kind of lockups and the load times are normal for your experience, unfortunately. But on PC, you may not experience those normally and may have started to experience them since the 3.0 patch of Sim Settlements. And the reason for this issue is that the game was incorrectly returning a value and caused Sim Settlements to start creating infinite items, which is obviously a very bad thing. So the solution is not great. It's very simple, but it is a way for you to restore your file if you have this. And you can also use this restoration method to test if you actually had the issue. So here's what you'll need to do. If you think you have this problem that's causing massive slowdowns in your game, disable some settlements, load up your save file, make a new save. So go up to your pause menu and manually create a new save. Then go back and install some settlements again, load up that new copy of the save, and if the issue seems to have resolved itself, you probably had this issue. Now, the downside of clean saving a mod out, which is what that process is that you reset the progress. So you basically have to go recollect the holotape, rebuild your plots, your cities, etc. So that's the negative side. But if you load back in after doing the clean save and find that the issue remains, then it wasn't caused by this bug, and you can go back to your previous save, and your progress will still be in place. So it's very rare. I've only found 3 confirmed cases of this, but I did want you guys to know, in case you're having this strange issue, that there is a way to restore your save so that you don't lose your entire character. And speaking of clean saving, it can be a useful tool to resolve another issue. So I'm getting a lot of reports of something that some of you are experiencing that isn't actually a Sim Settlements problem. It's just an engine problem, and it's been going on since Fallout 4 has been out. And that's when you go to scrap an item. It's often related to the power grid system. So if you scrap a generator or a connector, the most common causes of this, your game will crash. And this is a save file issue. This is something wrong in your save file. And the solution is to clean save out a large mod. Usually clean saving out any big giant mod, like a big quest mod or a big systems wide mod like Sim Settlements or Horizon or something like that. Any of those big mods are big enough to have an impact to clean up your save and fix it. So it's clean saving out one of those. I would target one that's is a large mod, but that you haven't had a lot of progress in, because obviously clean saving resets your progress. And that usually will fix that crashing issue. So if you're finding that you can't scrap a particular thing in a settlement without crashing, try out clean saving out something. Now, for a lot of you, Sim Settlements might be the only large mod you have, and then unfortunately you have to clean save out Sim Settlements to rescue that save file. And this isn't something that's super widespread. It's just something that happens over time, especially in older save files, because they're delicate creatures. As you're adding and removing mods throughout the life of a save file, it becomes less and less stable, and that's just something we've kind of learned to accept in the mod community. If you're new to modding this since Fallout 4, and you hadn't been doing it in a lot of other games prior, get yourself in the habit of saving frequently, because every time you add or remove a mod or upgrade a mod or anything like that, you risk corruption. So it's best always to have something you can roll back to. Now, I go to great lengths to make sure that the patches of Sim Settlements will seamlessly upgrade your saves, but I don't have a lot of control over the engine itself, so there's always the chance. And then the last thing I want to talk about regarding crashes is there's been an issue that some of you run into since Sim Settlements came out, and that's that you suddenly find yourself crashing when you fast travel into your settlements. And I think I have a solution for that, and it's something that I will be testing in the 3.0.4 patch of Sim Settlements. So if you're one that experiences this frequently, I could use your help. As many of you know, I've started posting beta patches that are public, and the reason for that is because some of these issues are so hard for us to replicate in our closed system that the closed beta test is very difficult to identify these and repeat them. So I need a kind of wider sampling. Once we get most of these big issues worked out, I'll revert to closed beta. But right now I've been doing kind of an open test. So the 3.04 open beta should be out this weekend. And if you're having that problem, I would love to get you guys to try it out and see if it resolves that problem, because that's a particularly annoying bug. It makes it so then you have to start walking to your settlements instead of fast traveling. And I think I have a solution, but because I can't replicate it myself, it becomes very, very difficult for me to test. So having a public beta and having you guys come try it and let me know if it's helping would be a huge boon. Okay, guys, as always, please read through the patch notes. This is one of my bigger patches as far as fixing problems, lots and lots of little issues that were sorted out, and continue to make those bug reports. Those are very, very helpful. We're going to get Rise of the Commonwealth and Sim Settlements to be as stable as Sim Settlements was prior to the 3.0 patch. I know we can get there. And I do want to say one last thing about installing patches, which is if you guys are on PC and you're using Nexus Mod Manager, you've got to install Sim Settlements updates manually. Doing it through Nexus almost inevitably fails for you eventually. You'll find tons of people in the bug reports will talk about an issue. I will tell them to manually install the update, and suddenly it's fixed. And there's a guide on how to do that if you've never done a manual install. It's really simple. On the SimSettlements wiki, I will link that in the description. But I would highly, highly recommend, if you're on PC using Nexus Mod Manager, anytime you update a big mod, including SimSettlements, that you do it manually. It's just a better process, and it's something that hopefully Nexus's software will resolve when they release their new version. But right now, it's kind of a problem. Okay, guys, take care and enjoy the mod.